I like that.
No. Anywhere you want between these. Good evening. Good evening. Good to see you all out tonight. We're going to get ready to get started with our town hall in a few moments. So just invite you to prepare to take your seat, and want to invite our panelists to make their way to the podium. We'll get started in about 2 minutes.
Both have our agenda.
Way too quiet. Sorry, way too quiet.
I'm gonna get some cups. I don't know. That's the moderators. I don't think so. We have certain.
We'll do introductions based on the slideshow. So.
Okay. I'll sit over here by there.
All right, good evening. Y'all can talk back. Good evening. Good. We have a great, intimate crowd tonight. Certainly want to welcome you to our fall town hall meeting. Thank you for taking the time to come and be engaged in this continued important dialogue between both our leadership of the institution and our student leaders and our student population. We are a student-centered institution. We are an institution that really values the partnership and strong relationship between university leadership and our students. And so these opportunities to engage in dialogue are really so important. And so we want to thank you for taking the time. Want to thank our leadership of our division, Dr. Martino Harmon, our Senior Vice President for Student Affairs. Thank you. Julian Neely, our President of our Student Government. Thank you both for your leadership, and all of our leaders with student government and members of the university administration who's here. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. I'm Vernon Hurt, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, and have the great privilege of being a co-moderator for tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'm Juan Bibaloni. I serve as the Vice President for Student Government, and I also have the great pleasure of being here tonight. So we'll now move on to the panelists' introductions. First off, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, so I'll start, and I'll try to look this direction. I know this is on, okay. So I'm Beate Schmittmann. I serve as Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I've done that now for 6.5 years, so I think I know my way around Iowa State University pretty well. You know, we're an academically very diverse college. You know, we have 21 departments and a professional school, ranging from the arts and humanities over the social sciences and the and the sciences. And it's, I find it a very satisfying, meaningful job. Student success is very important in everything that we do. And we are the one college at Iowa State University that engages every student on campus, because we teach a lot of the core and service courses that are required for many majors on campus, and we also teach a lot of the general education courses that students take to round out their experience here at Iowa State.
Dr. VanDerZanden?
Well, good evening. Thank you all for coming this evening. I'm Anne-Marie VanDerZanden. I'm the Associate Provost for Academic Programs. I'm also a professor in the Horticulture Department, and I've been here on campus for a little over 15 years. I work across the university on a variety of things related to undergraduate programs, curriculum. I work with the deans on looking at new curriculums. I work with the Board of Regents on issues related to the university. I also work with Laura Doring, who's here tonight, on a variety of projects related to student success. So we are working collectively on finding ways to help all of our students be successful here on campus, and to get to degree completion and to move on to the next stage of your lives as you're looking into your next careers.
Englin?
Good evening. My name is Pete Englin. Serve as Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Director of Residence. I've been at Iowa State since February 6, 1989, coming up on my 30th year, and have been in a number of roles over my time here. One of the things I like in my role as it relates to the Department of Residence is close to 93 or 94% of all first-time, full-time students who come to Iowa State live on campus, and so we get a chance to try and provide a great home and help set that platform for them for future success. So look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, on your slide. Yes. Yes, Director Johnson.
Hi, my name is Roberta Johnson. I first came to Iowa State University as a transfer student in the fall of 1975. And I've been fortunate to have worked in the Office of Student Financial Aid since 1982 in a variety of positions, and being named and assuming the director role in 2003. So I've been in financial aid now for 36 plus years. In that role, I've been involved not only in administering aid to our students, but also in a number of national and regional and state issues to try to increase opportunities for financial aid for our students.
Good evening. My name is Pam Cain, and I'm the Interim Senior VP for Finance and University Services. And that means on the back side of the house, we don't interact a lot with the students right now, but we're the ones that make sure that all the money is accounted for, all the budgets are set. We have facilities planning and management on the university side, environmental health and safety. We have the police department. We have, let's see, a lot of the specialty services, printing, transportation services, some of those different kind of, we've got the Ryman Gardens, we've got the museums, we have Iowa State Center. So there's a lot of things under this, but it's still the backside of the house. We make sure everybody gets paid, all the checks get processed. So hopefully you won't have a problem, because that's when we normally hear that something's wrong.
So one of the things I was asked to speak to specifically was the value proposition around housing and dining. And I will share, you know, as I've been here a long time, I don't think there's a better time when it relates to the choices and options and potential price points for students. It's the best that it's ever been in my time here. Part of that, during the enrollment growth that we experienced starting in 2008, the Department of Residence was responding, but also the private sector was responding and providing more choices for students. And so one of the things that we ask students to think about is, what is the total value proposition around your housing choices? And so there's a lot to take into consideration, and when we visit with students, sometimes what we learn is they're not looking at the totality of what that choice may cost as it relates to time, as it relates to the way in which they have to spend their time, either shopping, traveling, scraping windshields, sitting at a bus stop. And so one of the things being close to campus, and that's one of the other things you're seeing a change, is that there's a lot of the private sector stuff that's been built close to campus. So you're reducing some of the challenges as it relates to when the growth was way out in West Ames and students had to spend a lot of time commuting. If they came here, they had a class, then they might have a break of 2 or 3 hours. Where do they go? They might have a couple classes, then they might have a night class. And so we've seen a real change in the whole landscape as it relates to student housing, and also along Lincoln Way and in Campus Town with some of the dining options. And on campus, one of the things that we pay attention to is the student success equation. We don't talk about occupancy, we don't talk about profit and loss. What we talk about is how well students are transitioning to the institution and how do we keep facilitating a very successful transition. One of the things we listen for new to ISU students is not if they're going to graduate, it's when. And so we try and provide community. We use the word home a lot, that it's your home away from home, a new place for you where you get connected, create that support system. You'll learn all the resources that are represented in this room during that time, and you have community advisors and hall directors and other staff members helping you navigate some of that. And then there might be at some point a need for independence. That's where the apartment opportunities come into play. We try and pay attention to the price point that's associated with some of this. Some of you are aware of our Schletter and University Village are some of the most reasonable costs, but these are also apartments that are 40, 50 years old and they don't have all the amenities. But that's where I think students are paying attention. I mean, you know, if you're going to spend $700 or $800 a month for an apartment or $1,100 a month and you equate that out to a 12-year commitment, you're getting close to $8,000, $9,000 just for housing. We try and put together a proposition for housing and dining that, you know, for, you know, that $8,500 to $9,000 a year, you can be here for the 9-month academic year, have all your housing taken care of and all your food taken care of, and there aren't any hidden costs. So we try to make it simple and all-inclusive. But it is important for students to also experience some of those next steps. And we're one of the few institutions that does not have parietal rule, meaning students aren't required to live on campus. So we have a lot of folks pretty surprised that, you know, 94% choose to live on campus, 93%. We have around 46% of students choose to return for a sophomore year. Our junior to senior return rates were over 100%, meaning more people moved back on than moved off. That's partly because we'll offer semester contracts to those that are either going to student teach, study abroad, internship, graduate in December. I think when a student's thinking about where they might want to live is to put that whole package together, to really sit down and think through what they're obligating themselves to, what that total cost might be in terms of not only money, but their time and how they want to spend it. And then, you know, we do pay attention from a dining perspective on how well students eat, because two of the big concerns we have with students is how much sleep they get and how well they're eating. And, you know, a lot of information tells us they're not always making the best choices around those two things. So if you've got a dining plan, you're going to have lots of different choices and a lot of different places you can go and you can eat well without a lot of obligation on your part to shop or clean or cook associated with that. So that's where I would advocate that there's, you know, at least for a few years, 1, 2, 3 years, it might make sense to be on campus and utilize that, and then make a really informed choice around where you might want to live off campus and what that really is going to cost you. So, thank you.
So I'm going to come down because I know that you're getting this on tape, and I dressed to impress tonight. Not because this is such a fabulous outfit, but because I want to make a point here, and you can pass these around. So many of you came here to Iowa State University with some sort of a financial aid package, but one of the things that you need to know that is critically important, and I cannot stress this enough, is that every single year that you want to be receiving financial aid, you need to apply. And the application season is open right now. The free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA form, opened on October the 1st. And while it will be open for the next almost year and a half, if you want to be considered for the very best possible financial aid package, you need to get that FAFSA form submitted by December 1st of 2018. We're 1 month down in the process. You've got 1 month to go. Thanksgiving break is coming up, so I can't encourage you enough when you're home for that break to complete that FAFSA form. Please do not wait until 11:59 p.m. on December the 1st, because invariably there will be a computer glitch and you'll miss the deadline. And we do have to hold really firm to this, because we don't have an unlimited pot of money to serve the needs of every single student here at Iowa State University. So if you file late, if you're eligible for the federal Pell Grant, you will still get that. If you file late, you would still be eligible for student loan possibilities. But programs such as the ISU Grant Program, the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant Program, or the Supplemental ISU Grant Program will close, and we won't even consider you if your application is submitted after December 1st. So many times students will ask me, well, can you guarantee me that I will get financial aid? And that is contingent upon what the data shows from the FAFSA form. What I can guarantee you is that if you don't file the FAFSA, you won't get any financial aid. To borrow a phrase from a popular athletic company, just do it. Now, I also want to let you know on the FAFSA form that the federal government has made it easier for you to do this by importing your tax return data from the 2017 calendar year. So you and your parents, if you're a dependent student, will have already completed your 2017 tax return. You should have done that by April 17th, I think, this year, or you're in arrears with the IRS. And since that data is already in the IRS system, you can link from your FAFSA right out to the IRS site using their data retrieval tool and import that data directly into your FAFSA form. For security purposes, you won't get to see any of the numbers that get imported. That will only show up when those numbers get transferred over to us, but it's a security feature. The Department of Education and the IRS are extraordinarily serious, as we would want them to be, about your personal information. So in order to do that FAFSA, you want to go to fafsa.gov, and it will link you right there. If you've done it before, you should have your identifiers, a PIN and a password. And if you don't have it, you can, of course, use the forgot password and get it set up again. I want you to also know that staff in my office are available for you to come in, and we'll sit down and help you to complete the FAFSA form, or at least as much as you can before you need to go home and get your parents to finish the parent part of the FAFSA form. So don't hesitate to come in and visit with us. The bookmarks that I just passed around are for a brand new platform here on campus called One App, and we are deploying this across the entire campus this year for scholarships for the 1920 academic year. There is a single scholarship portal, and you can enter that portal and enter information about yourself into the portal, and it will then give you various opportunities for scholarships for which you may qualify. And then it's up to you on these additional opportunities. For instance, one might request an essay. You might decide, I don't have time to do an essay, I'm going to pass that one by, but the next one I'm going to take. I would encourage you to apply for every single possible opportunity, and most scholarships will be selected via this portal. So we are deploying across all the colleges, many of the departments across campus, and a lot of the units like multicultural student affairs and other areas across campus are putting their scholarships behind One App so that you can apply for them. However, we are not at a 100% yet, so also look at our scholarship webpage, which is up there, to look for other opportunities that might be still standalone for the next year. But we continue to work to get every single scholarship opportunity behind the portal. The deadlines for those scholarships do vary, so do pay attention to deadlines. For most students like you who are continuing students, the deadline for completing a scholarship application is probably March the 1st, but it can vary. The College of Engineering hasn't opened their part of the portal yet. They will later, and their deadline is going to be sooner. So just pay attention to those deadlines. Those are all listed on the website, and don't forget to do your FAFSA form.
All right, let's thank our panelists for their introductory remarks. All right, I think we're on now. So the topic for our town hall tonight is ISU Budget 101. We had over the last few weeks an opportunity for members of the community to submit questions, and so as moderators we have some of those questions that we want to be able to pose to our panelists for tonight. But because of the topic, we thought it would be great to have Pam Cain to actually give a broad overview of the Iowa State University budget so that we can have a good sense of what does our institutional budget look like. And so Pam Cain will come and kind of give us our overview, and then we'll launch into our Q&A portion.
Thank you, Vernon. I try to do it in pictures because sometimes numbers just kind of look like numbers. So fiscal 19. So we're starting with the fiscal 19. This is the fiscal year that we are currently in. It starts July 1 and ends on June 30th. So it ends June 30th of 2019. Budget overview, $1.5 billion is what the Iowa State University overall budget is. Okay, big dollars. But if you look at the two colors, there's the restricted funds and the general funds. Okay, so the restricted funds are, if you look up in the upper right-hand circle, auxiliary enterprises. That includes Department of Residence, it includes dining, it includes recreation services, it includes student health center, it includes, it includes utility system. Facilities is not, but those are auxiliary enterprises. And then we have the federal support. Federal support's about $175 million. That is just for the most part, competitive grants. We have private gifts, grants, and contracts. Those are all the things that come from the foundation and other kinds of contracts. So some of them may be with industry, some may be with other federal governments that are not actually grants. And then we have other restricted funds. But if you look, that's $773 million for all of those other services. Okay, so if you look at the general fund, the red portion, $731 million. And that is made up of the General University, which is where your tuition dollars go and state appropriations go. And then we have some other ag experiment station, which we get a state appropriation for, and we get a federal formula grant that goes for agricultural experiment station. And then we also have the cooperative extension, which we have a separate state appropriation, and we also have a formula grant for that one too. So those are part of the general fund. And then we have just a little bit of money that are other. We have some economic development appropriations that we get from the state. We get some veterinary diagnostic lab appropriations. I think that sits at $4 million right now. But that's what makes up the general fund. Okay, so then we'll go to the next slide, which is General University. And that's where your tuition dollars go. So if you look at tuition dollars, they make up 71% of the education fund for the university. Okay, I'm going to give you some history because part of my history is I used to work for the Board of Regents, and I did this chart. In 1981, the state of Iowa appropriations paid for 77%. And now the state of Iowa pays for just under 26% of your education. Okay, so in those years, it's kind of flipped just extremely the opposite of what it was. So we've got about $21 million in indirect costs. Those are the monies that come back to the university. So if we have research grants or something like that, there's indirect costs. Our indirect cost rate for the university is 53%. So, but guess what? We don't really get 53% on most of our federal grants. We get some portion of that, but we don't get 53%. But we get $21 million that comes back for us to use to hopefully help those costs that we have in the general university funds. Nope, not yet. Sorry. Okay. I was like, oh. So, but I want you, so our general university, okay, it's a three-part mission, though. We have education, we have research, and we have outreach. We have to have a fundamental base in order to attract those federal grants, those federal grant dollars, because all of those are competitive. And so we have to have strong faculty that can actually apply for those grants and get them based on their scholarship. And so that's where we have to, that fundamental for research and outreach. But on the right side, where are those expense dollars? As you can see, most of them are in salaries. Salaries fund the majority of the general university. That's where most of the costs go because we're a service organization. We're made up of people, and the people that teach things, so, and the people that do the research, people that do the outreach. So it's a person basis. Utilities eats up 5%. So that's not too bad, but if you look, that's still $32 million. And this is utilities just on the general fund buildings, just on those that are for education. And utilities for Pete's operation and Department of Residence, he has to pay those utilities. So we're not paying for any of the utilities that are in the auxiliaries. Student aid. We fund $120 million in student financial aid from our general university funds. So that's a big chunk, but that's 18% of those funds. And then the rest of it are other expenditures. There's, let's see, supplies and services. There's a building repairs. There's equipment. There's library acquisitions. So there's quite a few things that go into those other funds, those other expenditures. But that's the makeup of the general university where your tax dollars or your tuition dollars go. Any questions on this at all? Yes.
So the money that you get, the student activities fee, is that under other expenditures?
Nope. Great question. That's actually in the restricted funds. Okay. So when you want to go back one slide? Okay. The question is the fee dollars that come in. Do they go into the general university fund, and do they fund anything there? And the answer was no. The fees go into the restricted funds, and so all the fees that may go in for rec services, that goes directly to rec services budget, but it's restricted, and so they're an auxiliary. So that's the fees there go into that blue box or the blue pie shape. That's for recreation services, or they go to student health, or they go to student government. Okay, but that's all on this restricted side. So none of the dollars that go into the general university go to any of those fees. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, and student fees, all right. So this one is, okay, these are actual dollars for the fees. These are not in the millions. You know, those other tables were in the millions, so this is not. So you can see we kind of grouped it. So student government's $74 of your fee. Your total fee is $1,248.40. So this is kind of the big breakout of where all of your fee dollars go. So SciRide, $159. That actually funds all, we have what, about, Juan, you can help me, between 6 and 7 million riders during a full year, right? Approximately. And we fund about 60% of the SciRide bus activities. So it's the SciRide is actually a joint between student government, between the City of Ames and Iowa State University. So all three of us are partners in the SciRide bus system. So that's why when you get on as a student, you can ride the bus, flash the card, you're a student, you're on the bus. Because your fee pays for however many rides a year that you can ride. Okay. Intercollegiate athletics. So that we have $63 that goes to intercollegiate athletics, and that's the operations of the athletic department. And that's also on the restricted side of the funds. The MU fee, building fee, that goes to Steve back there, and for his, yes, for debt service. So a lot of these fees have started as debt service payments, and so this one is the debt service. So when we build a new building, a lot of times it's based on fees, And the debt service is like a mortgage. You pay it for 20, 25 years, but it takes a long time to pay those things back. But we actually get really good rates on those fees. So our mortgage fees, our interest rates are pretty low. Multicultural center building fee, that was also a building fee for that center. Recreation services, that's a combination fee. That fee pays for both the operations of the rec service, it pays for the building of the new state gym, the improvements that were made to Lead Center, and then it also paid for improvements to Buyer Hall, I think. And then it also pays for the deferred maintenance. So anything that kind of goes wrong in those facilities, it also pays for the new fields that you got over by Maple Willow Larch. It also paid for the field, it is paying for the fields that are east of University, so with the new lights and the new fields over there. Technology fee, that kind of gets split right now. Part of it goes to CAC, which is, thank you, Computational Advisory Committee. That's where students are part of that group. And the other part goes to certain colleges and part of it also goes to ITS, Information Technology Services, for the broad base of infrastructure for the university and for the students that use it. Health fee and health facility fee, those all go to Student Health Center. And that's the end of my slides, but I'll try and answer any questions you might have. Yes? Because the health fee actually goes for the operations of the center, where the health facility fee is just designated for buildings and deferred maintenance for the building that the health center actually is in. So it gets segregated off. So it's specifically for the facility. Okay. Other questions? Oh.
So we'll have an opportunity at the end to answer questions from everyone. But we have some pre-submitted questions that students took the time to send to Dr. Hurd and I, and we'll move on from there. And afterwards, we have time allotted for y'all to ask questions. The first question we have would, I assume, be directed towards Senior Vice President Cain and Dr. VanDerZanden. What does international tuition fund? And if you could go into a little bit detail into that. Whoever wants to start.
The international fee is it's been split between all the different divisions within the university, academics, student affairs, as well as finance and university services. What university services is doing with that, we've got an how do you say that? It's a multi-language police officer. We're trying to recruit language police, pardon? Multilingual. Thank you, multilingual, okay, police officers, so that there's a better understanding for international students with the police department so they can understand the different cultures and the different things so that they have a better understanding. And so they can actually talk in some of the, we did recruit a Mandarin speaking police officer. I think right now we've got a bilingual in Spanish as well as English. Her first language was Spanish. And so, but that's trying to help walk through some of those issues that international students have, and hopefully the police will be able to add value in those areas for international. On the financial side, we've hired an additional staff to take care of the international paperwork that goes with students coming here. So when they have tuition, there's paperwork, sponsorships, and all the different and so they are working with those, and we tried to make sure we trained folks specifically to handle that kind of paperwork, because we don't know all the languages and there's certain things that we have to do, and so we're working through all of that, and that's one of the other things on the finance side that we're doing. So.
I would say the international tuition is also used to support students in the individual colleges. So with that differential amount of tuition, many of the colleges have hired a number of advisors who are working specifically with our international students. They are helping them to navigate the differences as it relates to their enrollment at the institution. So things related to their visa status, to any other type of documentation that needs to be done. So they're working directly with the students. Those are a couple of the examples. Some of the other things they're doing is at a more central level, and so creating additional coursework to help those students in the transition to the university and providing some type of an orientation in a transition space, so they're going to be more successful once they get to the university and start figuring out how to navigate it.
I have one more. We are actually working on a report. Hopefully it'll be out next week. I was hoping we would have it ready for today, about all the different kind of things that we're using the international tuition for. So that should be available next week. So.
And I would just add, generally, the tuition is really designed to enhance the international student experience. So International Students and Scholars Office is one of the departments within the Dean of Students Office, within the Division of Student Affairs. So there are a couple things that that office has really been working on. So looking at enhancing the orientation experience for international students. Over the last year, some significant enhancements to that experience. Even in this next year, we're looking at adding a parent and family component actually to the international orientation experience. So really looking at how we can enhance the experience. Another area that I'll mention before we move forward is taking an intentional look at the experiences of international graduate students. So partnerships with the graduate colleges, with our other academic colleges. And so really, again, how can we, based on the feedback and the interests of our students, really enhance that experience? So one other question in our tuition and kind of finance section. And this is related to the student health fee. So the question is the student health fee waived or adjusted when a student is participating in a study abroad program or enrolled in a study abroad insurance program? And so, Pam, if you want to start. And if we have, I know Aaron Baldwin is here, if Aaron wants to add to that as well. But the question, again, is around the student health fee, whether it's waived or adjusted when a student is participating in a study abroad program and enrolled in the study abroad insurance program.
We have the expert here.
They're all looking at me, so I'll answer that. So currently it is not waived for study abroad. Students may still have interaction even when they're studying abroad with the health center. We may help them transfer prescriptions to wherever they are studying. They still have access to 24/7 medical advice through the health center when they're studying abroad. And then they can also talk with their care team through our patient portal. So there are services even when they're studying remotely that they can access through the health center.
So now we move on to the next section of the program, which is academic experience. And the first question that we have is, how is Iowa State supporting career preparation for students? And any of the panelists, feel free to jump in, Dean Schmittmann or Dr. VanDerZanden.
Okay, I'll start, and then Anne-Marie can fill in anything that I'm forgetting. So, I mean, first of all, of course, we want to make sure that you have that you are enrolled in degree programs that are relevant, okay? So that the courses that we teach, the material that we convey to you is appropriate to give you a broad introduction into the field that you are studying, and ideally, prepare you for, at least to some degree for the future career that you're going to be engaging in. So, first of all, degree programs need to be, at the cutting edge of, what's important in those fields, what's relevant in those fields, and what future employers might potentially expect from you. Then, of course, all the colleges have career services offices, which offer a range of services from, helping you find positions for internships, helping you eventually with interviewing, providing advice on writing resumes, cover letters, etc. Help you with questions around how to dress professionally. A lot of them do, professional etiquette around being invited for a meal as part of an interview process. Several colleges run actual courses On professional career preparation, LAS just launched one. Business has had one that's been required for a long time. I hope to make the one in LAS required for our students. Student feedback has been great. The colleges all partner together on the career fairs that are hosted at Iowa State University every year. We have several career fairs. They're open to all students. So, you know, the one that is business, industry, and technology, you don't have to be a business major. The engineering career fair, you don't have to be an engineering major, because I know that a lot of the students from LAS are most appropriately attending the engineering career fair because they're going to be working in the types of jobs that engineers will be working in. And then finally, there's sci-hire. You know, there's the university system where every single position that an employer wants to make available to Iowa State students is posted, and every student can see it. And every student, provided they meet the requirements of the position, can apply for it, so that we avoid the information only goes to the selected few kind of environment. We want to make sure that's openly available. So I'll stop here, and Maria, if you have something else.
Sure. Yeah, I think the sci-hire is certainly something I want to direct your attention to. It's similar to the one app concept that Roberta was talking about, a kind of a one-stop shop for employers to be able to post positions they have. And just a few data points that I was able to pull together. We have about 6,800 full-time positions that are posted in sci-hire. 3,900 internships have been posted. And there's about 3,200 different employers that are recruiting our students. So that's, you know, 3,200 employers in one stop is a pretty great opportunity for students to be able to find those opportunities. The question was about how Iowa State is supporting career preparation for students. I guess I would also say that students have some responsibility in preparing for those careers as well. And, you know, I often get asked questions about, you know, what are some of the best things I can do as a student to prepare for my career? And I think I would kind of narrow it down to three particular things. The first would be meet with your academic advisor. Your academic advisors are there to support students. They can be a fantastic resource when it comes to course scheduling, to finding the best way to maximize your schedule, to take advantage of our block tuition rate. You know, you pay the same rate for your tuition if it's 12 credits or you know, up to 18 or 19 credits. Above that, you really need to talk to your advisor about adding more credits to your load. But working with the advisor to maximize ways to be able to look at a double major or a certificate or a minor program. You know, those are kinds of things that I think would help prepare you. I think the other thing that Iowa State does is has a lot of opportunities for students to get engaged in different types of academic experiences. So talk to your professors. Are there undergraduate research opportunities that are available? Are there other opportunities that they know of that you might be interested in? So potential contacts for internships, some of those types of things. The co-curricular types of activities we have where you can build leadership. Student government's a great example, but all of the clubs that we have on campus, those are great ways for students to build those other sets of skills that we know that employers are looking for. So obviously your technical discipline is important, but certainly those other skills we always hear time and again how important they are from our employers. And then the other part in talking to your professors would be the other piece of advice is they will have a huge professional network that you probably aren't familiar with, but that they can help you get connected with. Networking is critical as you move into this next phase of your career. So take advantage of that relationship you have with your faculty members and tap into that network that they have. So those would be some of the things that the university is doing, and I think some of my suggestions for you as students to be able to do as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to amplify some of the student life opportunities. I mean, we have probably the best, if not one of the best, sorority and fraternity life experiences in the nation. And we have about 5,000 students that are learning about philanthropy, service, community service, leadership. And you put those pieces together, those soft skills you learn, in addition to the 850 student organizations. Our house system is constructed to have 1,400 student leadership positions. Even if you're the birthday chair, you're working with a community of 50 folks to put together, communicate, talk. So you're going to get a great academic preparation. You're going to get a great degree, but what have you layered on top of that? And there's a lot of great experiences here that Iowa State offers that you can leverage that sets you apart from somebody else that other institutions they don't necessarily have. So, and I, you know, in this room, I think they understand that, but that's an intentional practice that we have here, an opportunity that we hope everybody takes advantage of.
So Dr. VanDerZanden, I'm going to come back to you because I think you started to allude to some potential answers to this next question. The question that was posed was, what strategies and resources should undergraduate students consider to help them meet their goal of graduating in 4 years?
So graduating in 4 years obviously is a high priority for a number of people on campus, students, but the faculty and staff are also interested in ensuring that students are getting, you know, to that graduation and completion rate in a timely manner. I think the things that I mentioned earlier would be things that I would certainly reinforce that are important. Talking to your academic advisor. I've seen time and again where students think, well, yeah, I think these are the courses I want to take. And you know, everybody is an adult in the room and can make those decisions. However, the university and their curriculums have requirements, and if those aren't met, then graduation isn't going to happen. So finding the time to have those conversations with your advisors. One of the things I often hear as well is students who will get kind of second or third hand knowledge in making decisions on their courses to take. And again, we've got so many resources online, 4-year degree plans, ways that you can tie a 4-year degree in with a minor or a certificate. There's really a fairly strong pathway that's lined out. It's really a matter of being able to follow that. So I think that those are really important. As I mentioned earlier as well, at Iowa State University, we have the block tuition rate. So you are able to take more than the full-time number of credits and you don't have to pay an additional per credit fee. A lot of other institutions you pay on a per credit fee. So you've got quite a bit of flexibility in there to take, you know, those few extra courses. Credit momentum is a big thing. 15 credits to graduate, 15 credits each semester at a minimum. For most programs will get you there. You need to know if you're going to do a study abroad or an internship, how that might change the additional credit load that you might need to take. But again, those 4-year plans I think are a really good starting point. Now, the other thing that can happen is, you know, sometimes the semester doesn't go quite as you anticipated. A course gives you a little bit more trouble than you were expecting. Maybe you need to retake the course. Maybe you need to drop the course. So if you're taking that more than 15 credits or at a minimum 15 credits, you have that flexibility if you need to drop a course before the drop date or if you need to go back and retake a course. But if you're just doing the minimum number of credits, it's going to be hard to graduate in a timely manner. So keeping that in mind, I think, is also an important part.
I would like to chime in too that for every extra year that you're going to school, you're paying for it. And if you are borrowing money through student loans, that's additional debt load. Plus you also have lost employment wages because you're not out in the workforce. So that's something else to think about when you're considering it. And I would echo the need to work with academic advisors very closely so that you can minimize your time at Iowa State.
So, and I would add to that, Dr. VanDerZanden talked about the 4-year plan for the degrees. You should have your own plan. So, I always tell freshmen, even though it sounds daunting in that first year, to really sit down and engage in the exercise of mapping out those 4 years. What are they going to look like? What major are you enrolled in? What courses are you going to have to take for the major? How are you going to spread them out over the 4 years? Are you thinking of maybe adding a minor? Are you thinking of studying abroad? Are you thinking of an internship? Make use of online courses, a lot of courses, especially those for your general education requirements and those that satisfy some of the high enrollment requirements, math, English, etc. A lot of those courses are available online and during the academic year and also during the summer. So you can get some credits taken care of in the summer, which creates a little bit of some opening during the academic year, maybe for a minor, for an internship, etc. It's daunting to write down a 4-year plan when you've just arrived on campus, and obviously you're not married to it. I mean, you can change it. As you learn more about the university, about what's available, you change it. I mean, it's a dynamic document. But just going through the exercise of really mapping out what you might want to do while you're here is extremely valuable. And again, we talked a moment about, what happens when there is an unexpected crisis. Do talk to someone, okay? If there's a crisis like a family emergency, if there's something that doesn't go quite right in your life, talk to your advisor, talk to maybe a trusted professor or a department chair. We have a lot of resources where we can address a crisis before it turns into, possibly not being able to come back for that next semester. Avail yourselves of every scholarship opportunity that's out there, because it means you're not going to have to work. It takes time off your calendar that you can invest in studying and other valuable activities, so there are opportunities there. We have emergency grants in some of the colleges where we can help a student with an unexpected emergency, that car that breaks down and needs to be fixed, etc. So lots of resources available if there is a crisis. I hope there won't be one, but if there is one, it doesn't have to become, an unsurmountable life crisis. It can be a problem that we handle and that we help you with, and, you can put it in the rearview mirror before too long. Thanks.
And before Juan comes, I certainly want to reiterate, there's so many resources that are available here. Part of kind of successful strategy towards degree is really utilizing those resources. And so in addition to your faculty, department heads, advisors, I'm going to make a plug as the Dean of Students. For the Dean of Students office, we recognize that life happens, and our very purpose is really to help you continue to make progress and to support you and make sure you're connected to resources and help you strategize to continue to make progress towards your goals, even when life happens. So definitely use your resources. I think that's an important part of your success strategy.
And I'll just add to that, you don't have to figure out who you talk to, because if you talk to an advisor, that advisor will help make the connections to you. That advisor will reach out to the Dean of Students office. That advisor will reach out to the department or the college. So just talk to one person and they'll plug you into this network of support.
Thank you, everybody. We'll now proceed to the last topic before we move on to the open discussion and questions. This would be, I assume, a question more for Pete. What new initiatives or projects has ISU Dining been working on for the past year?
Well, they've been busy. If you have been through the food court downstairs, you'll see the renovations that they've made down in the food court area. Last year, completed some work with Lance and Ellie's. We're doing some things over in Union Drive Community Center. That concept has been opened up. If you look, there's a hamburger. If you haven't had hamburger there yet, it's incredible, and they've got milkshakes there that are outstanding. But these are changes that were made in the past year in response to students. The hub next door, just across campus here, will open up after the first of the year. We're making some renovations and changes to that facility in response to what the community wanted. Whirly Birds over in State Gym was converted from fruits to another concept. And so one thing I will tell you about ISU Dining and Muhammad Ali, my colleague here, is that there's always the thing on the horizon, the next opportunities, constantly listening and evaluating, visiting other campuses to try and figure out what best works for students, and then adjusting and making changes. Along with that, he is a foodie, he loves food, and so does his team. So there's often opportunities where they're going to look to try and expose folks to new dining concepts too. And they have a dietitian, they have halal food that they provide. I mean, they're trying to be very progressive, I think, with an aspiration to be the best, if not one of the best dining center, residential and retail operations in the nation. So within the constraints of the Iowa State culture, because we're very cost conscious too. So that's another one of the factors that we always pay attention to. I miss anything, Mohammed? All right, thank you.
Well, one more question in our campus life section, and I'm going to ask Aaron Baldwin, our Assistant Vice President for Health and Wellness, because I think this is a good question for you. The question is, beyond the services provided through the Teelan Student Health Center and the Student Counseling Center, what other wellness services are available to students on campus?
So a great place to start is cyclonehealth.org. That will get you to all 4 of the student health and wellness departments. So not just the health center, but the counseling center, student wellness, and recreation services. So student wellness, I would encourage you to check out their website. They have topical information on all of the different dimensions of wellness. The peer wellness educators, which are students like yourselves, has actually gone through all of the different topics that are out there. For example, stress, sleep, and they've given strategies that they would use to work on your wellness in those areas. Recreation services is always a great opportunity too. They have a variety of options. You don't have to be a stellar athlete to participate in all of their activities that they have. So would encourage you to check out Outdoor Rec. There's different trips, programming that you can be involved in, and then intramurals too. There's things like a Hearts tournament. Has anyone done Battleship H2O? So yes, you get in canoes and you paddle around and try to knock people out of their canoes. So there's really something for everyone. So I encourage you to check those out.
New staff development opportunity there.
Roberta to talk about financial wellness a little bit along that same topic in the student loan education.
Sure.
Sure.
So one of the areas within our Office of Student Financial Aid is the Student Loan Education Office, but they offer more than just education about loans. They offer financial wellness checkups for students, and you do not have to have financial aid in order to visit with them. Some of the expertise that they have includes helping you to devise a budget, helping you to look at what resources you do have available to you, and plot that out so that you know that you should have enough money to pay your charges over the course of the semester or the academic year. Can provide you with some money-saving tips and alternatives for ways that you could cut back in certain areas so that you have more money to do other things, because we know that money is a huge stressor for people, and it's not atypical for people who are stressed about money to get a job, and then they start to work a lot, and then there is an impact on their academic performance, and it becomes a big kind of vicious circle. So take advantage of that opportunity so that you can minimize that stress, so that you can really do what you came here to do, which is get a degree and then go forth and do great things.
Thank you, everybody. So we'll now move on to the last section of tonight's program, which is questions from the audience. So Dr. Hurt will be on that side. I'll be in this side. So if there's any questions to our panelists, could be related to this topic, or like if there's a question related to the area, please feel free to ask it. So yes, perfect. Can I say your name, major?
So I'm Steven. I'm in software engineering. And this is a question about residency. So I think last year there was a change on policy about contract breaks for students at semester. I guess I was just wondering what the reasoning and kind of like driving force was behind that.
So for those of you that don't know, I think this is about Greek cancellation. So that's where I think you were headed is. So starting about 12 years ago, there was a goal for the university to have 15% of its undergraduate student population participating in the Greek community. At that time, it was about 12% of 23,000 students. So where we are, fast forward today, and where we've been for the last 3 years, we're at about 17% of about 30,000 students. So that goal to do this has been achieved, and part of that was the ability for students who lived on campus to cancel their contract with little to no penalty so they could move into a Greek chapter house. And so once we've kind of reached that, we started to evaluate whether this was a policy that worked for a 100% self-funded department. And so we have around $8 million in debt service a year. On the resident side, there's about $2 million of debt service on the dining side that we have to cover. We also need to improve our facilities. In '05, about half our facilities were new or renovated. About half had not been touched in about 7 or 8 years, and we've made this progression. And then on top of that, a couple other things have happened. The private student housing has had an impact on the department. We've lost about 1,300 contracts in the last 3 years. Our university overhead is going to go up about $1.5 million for housing and dining. And then on top of that, some of the fees from our internal providers, like lawn mowing and snow removal, those prices are also going up. So from a stewardship perspective, we had to look at this and say, you know, how can we plan and be at a place where we're meeting our debt obligations, we're reinvesting at a reasonable rate, we're keeping our rates competitive, and I think students could argue that, you know, we would still like to see it lower. And so you just put all those together, and decisions like the Greek community is thriving. We've gone from 4,000 to 6,000 undergraduate students per year. There's an opportunity to maybe do things a little differently on their side of the house, and it'll keep us in a place where we can still reinvest and take care of the students and the obligations that we have. So that's really where it all kind of came from, a whole set of circumstances that kind of came together, and it was time to make a change.
Thank you, Pete. Are there any further questions from our audience? Yes. Well, how unexpected.
All right. Hi, I'm Wyatt Chai. I'm a kinesiology major. I guess I just had a question. Huh? Stop. Also, I'm a fifth-year student, so it was a traumatic moment hearing about people graduating in 4 years. I guess I just had a question about how, what the process the university goes through when it comes to like determining what funding goes to what college. You know, taking into consideration like donations. Maybe some colleges don't get as many donations as others. So how do you kind of maybe balance that, or do you? I guess, yeah.
So I can get a start on this, and then Pam, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So, you know, when tuition comes into the university, it is distributed to the colleges based on a formula. So it is based on how many majors are enrolled in that particular college. That's one piece. And then another piece comes to the college based on the student credit hours that the college teaches. So for example, for us in LAS, we teach a lot of student credit hours to the college, to students from the College of Engineering or the College of Business or whatever. So we get a certain portion of the tuition that these students pay as a way of offsetting the costs that we have for staffing these classes, you know, having faculty teach them, teaching assistants, etc. So that's how tuition dollars come to colleges. There is always a certain portion of the direct state allocation that comes from the legislature that goes to the colleges. That's traditionally been historic. But that's how it works. So colleges can actually be entrepreneurial. So for us to grow our enrollment is you know, of interest. For us to make sure that we teach courses that are really attractive to students, that students want to take. Because we know students vote with their feet. That's really attractive for us. So it's a system of funding colleges that incentivizes the colleges to do a good job attracting students, retaining students, and doing a good job teaching students, supporting them through their degree programs, etc. So that's how that works. Now, colleges also go out fundraising. You know, that's really very often based on the kind of programs you have in the college. Some programs, you know, graduate alumni who become relatively wealthy. It's not an easy direct connection that only engineering graduates are wealthy. We have some graduates in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences who have been extremely successful and extremely generous. So that's really up to the ability of the University Foundation and the college deans and the department chairs to really go out there and share with those donors what an exciting place Iowa State University is and how they can make a difference if they support us. I'll just stop there for simplicity.
Perfect. We'll move on to that side.
Hello, my name is Vishesh. I just had a quick question about student success in terms of international students. Why is it there that there's only limited number of scholarships just for international students, even though they pay the highest amount of tuition?
So we do have scholarships for international students, both for prospective students and for currently enrolled students. And we are expanding those scholarship opportunities because we realize that, that international students are paying this. However, one of the reasons historically why there have not been as many scholarship dollars is that international students, as a condition of their visa when they come here, have to show that they have a means of academic or of financial support for the entire time that they are here. So historically, the philosophy was that international students had the support because they had demonstrated that as part of the visa process. We don't have restrictions on scholarship dollars from foundation funders for some scholarships. Many scholarships do require that students show financial need, and currently the only document to show that financial need is the FAFSA form, which is only available to domestic students or students who are qualified eligible non-citizens, i.e. have a green card. So that is a bit of a challenge for international students. But there are a lot of unrestricted scholarship dollars that would be through the One App system. We would encourage our international students to apply there as well.
Martino Harmon, Student Affairs. I'm going to just add one point, and Roberta or Pam will correct me if I'm wrong. But of the international tuition revenues that come in, 15% of that money is allocated to financial assistance for international students. So as those funds increased, a portion of that is specifically allocated. And financial aid worked with international students and scholars to come up with a formula for how much of that would go for recruiting new students and how much would go for current students who are here, who are in need of grant aid. So am I accurate on that? And so international students and scholars, for example, they have access to funding when an international student is in critical need that is a larger base of funds than they had before. So that's been one positive from that. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Do you have a question? Yes. There you go.
Hey, y'all. Cody Woodruff, Political Science and Speech Communication. Thanks again for coming and for the event this evening. My question's probably for Pam, but I'd be interested to see what others have to say about this too. So it was recently announced we surpassed our Forever True Iowa State campaign early, raised $1.1 billion, which is the most we've ever raised ever. So I'm curious if you could just elaborate on what that means for our university and where those dollars will be going, specifically as it pertains to students.
I can give you a little bit of it. We are trying right now to work closely with the foundation just on a lot of synergies and where those financial dollars from the donors can help just in our regular budgeting. Okay, so if there are some things that we can do, some generic scholarships that might help us, instead a lot of them come in very, very restricted, and so we're trying to get them to look at a broader base that might help us, you know, sustain into the future, because I don't know that we're anticipating state dollars to go up, you know, so if we consider that state dollars are level, you know, at best, then we need some other resources, and some of that will be from the foundation and the fundraising that they are doing.
I would also say that from my perspective, what I see, and I'll let Dean Schmittmann elaborate on them, there are funds that go for building support, there are funds that go for faculty support, and then there are funds that go for and program support, and then student support through scholarships. And so we're currently receiving a lot of memorandums of agreement from donors who have a specific scholarship that they would like to fund that will enable students to be able to persist at Iowa State University.
Yeah, you know, as a college dean, that's, you know, one of my primary responsibilities is interacting with donors and making sure that we find ways in which they can make an impact here. A lot of donors want to support students. Of course, there are alums, there were students here, that's how they connect back to the university. They will often fund scholarships in their home departments, for example, which are then awarded by the department. I know political science has some good ones that especially recently came in. And some donors, want to support research. They want to support faculty. They had a faculty member who made a big difference in their life. They want to sort of, create something in that memory. Sometimes, you're the dean who lives the dream. I've had that experience. We've had this huge gift come into liberal arts and science, and it's basically unrestricted. $159.2 million. The donors were willing to be very, very generous and say, you use it as you see fit. Now, they have certain interests in our conversations with them. They have certain areas that they particularly care about in the college, and they definitely care about students. So the very first thing that, we did in the college when the first, proceeds started to flow from this new endowment is we totally, absolutely transformationally increased our support for students. So LAS is a college. Our departments give out every year about $600,000, $700,000 in scholarship. The college gave out approximately $200,000 in scholarship. That number is going up to $2.6 million. It's a factor of 10. Okay, that's what I call transformative. So overall, when it's all said and done, LAS is going to hand out about $3.5 million in student support, and that's scholarships, that's support for study abroad, that's support for undergraduate research. So, if you get that email saying, hey, do you want to apply for undergraduate research, go for it. Make sure you talk to to our International Study Abroad office for study abroad scholarships. There is a heck of a lot more money on the table now than there ever was before, so we can say yes a lot more often. We also offer a lot of scholarships for new students, incoming students, 2-year scholarships, etc. I'll give you another example. Last year, the college awarded 36 scholarships to new students. This year, we made over 1,200 offers of scholarships. Now, not all of them were accepted because not every student chose to come here, but it was still a factor of 10. So over 300 of those were accepted. So it's hugely different. So for us, it's made an incredible difference. And I can't thank the donors enough. So.
And I'm just going to follow up one time to remind you that in order to get many of those scholarships, fill out the One app.
Well, we have a question over here, and then we'll move to Ashesh.
Hi, I'm Ian Steenhoek. I'm studying journalism. So my question would probably be best answered by Pete. But how can an off-campus student best decide what meal plan, or go about deciding what meal plan is best for them?
Well, there's a number of different options for students, and partly I think they need to look at how often they're going to be on campus and when they're going to be on campus. And then you can start to kind of calibrate whether it's a block plan. The most value-laden plan is the all you care to eat swipe plan per swipe. And so if you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to spend your entire day on campus, you should consider something like that. But for some, it might be I'm on campus, twice a week over the lunch hour. I want to get something to eat, and then it's a smaller block plan. And so the smaller the plan, the more you pay per meal. So I really think it's a matter of just like what your schedule is like and where you're going to be on campus, and then plan accordingly. We sell a lot of meal plans out of areas that don't require it. So 4,000. 40%. Yeah, about 40% of all the meal plans, which I think we sell about 11,000 meal plans, are from folks that aren't required, because we have meal plan required areas in our residence hall spaces, but Wallace and Wilson and Frederickson and SUV and off campus end up buying close to 4,500 meal plans. So I think that students are paying attention to that. There's a lot of communication around what that value proposition again looks like, and students are picking what works for them.
Ashesh?
Hi again. So my question is pertaining to student success. I can talk from the background of over 150 international students that I've personally talked to. Their experiences with career fairs have not been good just because they've been denied by several companies just because they're international. What the university is taking steps to encourage the student success for those particular students in terms of career services or things like that?
I mean, I can try a little bit. I mean, a lot of this is, of course, you know, controlled by, you know, the legislative environment that we live in. In LAS, we have recently, again, using international differential tuition, we have recently added students, you know, because obviously international students want to get some career-relevant experience while they're here too. So, you know, that was something that we got a lot of demand for, and so we have recently added one person there. You know, all we can do is educate students, educate employers as much as we can. It's a challenging situation.
I know that this is something that has come up, particularly as our undergraduate international student enrollment has increased. And a number of the career services units are talking about this, trying to develop a set of best practices, not only on educating, as Dean Schmittmann said, the HR liaisons and representatives from the companies that are coming, but also helping students understand what some opportunities are and where some of the limitations are that are really out of the control of the company. So it certainly is something that people are aware of, and I know that the different colleges are working on that.
I guess I'd like to follow up on that question because something I've heard a lot is students going up, interviewing with the companies, going through the whole process, and then not knowing till the very end that the company actually can't hire them because of their international status. Is there any way? Way the university can help in, you know, cutting that? You can say spend time that that a student spends like with working with a company and then not knowing till the very end that they can't hire them, so that they know off the bat what they should expect.
That's a part of the issue. One is sometimes some of the companies, the folks that are coming and doing some of the recruiting aren't as well informed around that because they aren't necessarily the HR people for the company. They're the people that the students may be working with. And so part of it is that educational piece, and that's where the career services centers are really starting to work to identify some of those best practices and make sure that communication is more clear up front. So hopefully a student, an international student who wouldn't be able to work doesn't go down that path and you know, spend all that time and energy only to find out that they wouldn't be able to be hired. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. VanDerZanden. Questions? Yes.
Hi, Chase Kuzel, majoring in public relations. I just had a question about the differential tuition and where are we able to see that being put in on campus, I guess.
Can I just get a little bit of clarification, Chess, as far as how the differential is being used?
Yeah, like how it's being used and where we can kind of see it being used.
Okay. It really depends on the college, and in some respects, it even depends on the department. One example that I can share with you that's very obvious is in the ABE program. So, for example, engineering has had differential tuition for a number of years now. That additional differential is being used to enhance the existing programs they have, to update equipment. It's an expensive program to teach because of the equipment and the labs that are associated with it. And within the SUCUP building, they actually have some plaques that they've put up on the labs that say that a portion of this lab is funded through differential tuition. So they've been I think, very smart about making that visible to the students so you can actually see where those dollars are being used. But Dean Schmittmann can probably speak to some of that as well from the LAS standpoint.
So yeah, I mean, certainly like Anne-Marie said, it depends very much on college and sometimes department. So in LAS, we've made a decision that we're going to use a fair portion of the new differential tuition towards the salaries of new faculty positions as a way of supporting students better, you know, bringing, you know, strong people in, you know, help with students to faculty ratios, etc. We're also using some of the resources to enhance our program. So, you know, we buy laboratory equipment. We have a program in biological pre-medical illustration. They have a skeleton, which they do anatomy. The skeleton they had was falling apart, so they bought a new one from differential tuition. And so there are a variety of things that the different programs do, but mostly we've made a strategic choice to use it towards, additional faculty hires, because I know that's important for the departments, that's very important for students. In computer science, for example, we had a situation where the student advisory board for a long time had asked for a particular 300 level course that they felt was really important for their career preparation, or now we're offering that course.
Dean Schmittmann, can you just mention the process that was used to get feedback from students in the colleges before the recent expansion of differential tuition?
Yeah, so before we expanded differential tuition, the colleges, and this is predominantly the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and the College of Human Sciences, we held numerous information sessions with students. In some colleges, there's a very engaged student advisory council with whom the dean would interact. In LAS, since we have such a wide range of programs, I don't know how many meetings with student clubs and, different student groups I went to, probably 30, 40 or so over the course of a semester or so, and we always talked about the importance of differential tuition, what it was going to allow us to do in terms of, sustaining the quality of programs, but also enhancing those programs. And, some of the programs we have are inherently more expensive through laboratory experiences, capstone experiences that may be required as part of accreditation requirement, et cetera. So that's helping us sustain the quality of these programs. Now, for you as a public relations major, your program is not assessed differential tuition, but I would say nevertheless you benefit because some of the pressures on funding that would have, impacted the whole college are now alleviated because we have the differential tuition resources. So that leaves a little bit more maybe to go around for some of the other programs as well.
I think I would just like to follow up on that as well. When the conversations initiated about differential tuition, 18 months or so ago, the colleges were particularly engaged with the students through the student advisory boards. There were well over 70 different meetings that the different colleges had, getting direct student input on what the differential tuition dollars would be used for, what was most important to the student experience that those dollars be used for. And I'll say that I met with a number of the deans as they were working through this, and part of what they were compiling as we were creating this university approach to it was not only the initial use of those dollars, but the ongoing use of those dollars. And so students are continually involved in providing that input. How are these funds being used? Are they seeing the benefit in their individual programs? So I think the deans, and Dean Schmittmann in particular, that was a really important part of the process. I mean, it was a big decision to make this, and then the impact it was going to have on students. And so making sure students had the opportunity to weigh in a real personal way how it impacts your individual curriculum. That was a really important part of this. Now, can I say that everybody got 100% of what they wanted in how they were used? No, there's always going to have to be a compromise in there, but that was a really important part of the process.
Thank you. Oh, here you go.
Hi, my name is Caroline. I'm a poli-sci major. I'm not really sure who directly to ask this question to, but every year it seems like our fee rates kind of go up a little bit, which is kind of expected. But I kind of had the question of why it took so long for the deferred maintenance in the MU to finally come to fruition. There's the MU is starting to fall apart, and it'll be sad to see this go if we're not able to do something with that. And so I just want to know how much of our fee dollars are particularly going to that.
Unless one of the panelists wants to take it on, I think Steve, Steve's ready for it.
One of the things that we are currently doing right now is obviously working on the renovation deferred maintenance of 4, 5, and 6, which is a part of the new student fee. In the meantime, we also have a new capital renewal plan that really consists of an immediate $24 million. So our past history and leadership has been working to develop a solid plan to move forward in the best way possible to address the most immediate needs. Now, the most immediate needs really concern electrical, mechanical, and plumbing issues. And there's really way too much that we need to address in order to say, right now, here's what we're going to do. So in the meantime, we have a plan over the next 5 years to address the most immediate needs, and at the same time, figure out how we're going to develop our own revenue plan. So I think the history of the union has really been focused on providing as much service and programs and operations as possible, while at the same time trying to balance out the need to go back to students every year to ask for more fee dollars. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to create a business model with the idea of providing as many services and programs and operations to our students at the same time. Because I think the challenge, of course, is how do you maintain what we're currently offering, fix the old deferred maintenance issues, and of course, continue to move forward and create a sustainable budget model. So I can't give you all the answers for all of that tonight, but we are addressing that problem as much as we possibly can. So hopefully that answers some of your question. But your question really is a lot more complicated than we can answer in just a couple minutes. So Martino, you have some more history for us?
Yes, but it won't be that complicated. No, we went through a process of almost 3 years of working on a proposal to do a major renovation to the MU. It ended up being a $65 million renovation, which compared to the $11 million renovation that we're working on now was much larger and would have taken care of a lot of things, a new addition to the building, many different facets, as well as deferred maintenance. We listened to our students. We took that to the students. It was on the ballot as a referendum. It failed. And so, we can't go beyond what the students want. And certainly, as Steve said, we would love to address deferred maintenance every year, but we don't want to, look at raising fees for the MU on a yearly basis. That's not, students won't accept that. So we kind of put a lot of our eggs into that larger renovation. That didn't pass. We went back to the students and got a much more limited renovation, mainly because we had to address the hotel floors, the former hotel floors, and some deferred maintenance. So we'd love to do everything that we could do, but we have to do what the students will allow us to do in terms of fees.
Hi, my name is Lyra Bender. I'm a first year in the MBA program. Did we ever receive any feedback as to why that failed? Like, did the university ever receive feedback as to why the students didn't want to pay that? And is that something that you all would ever think about creating another proposal for moving forward?
So I'm only helping out because Steve wasn't here at this time, but really essentially there were a lot of different reasons. One, by the time we really got to the point where we were ready to put the information out, we had been talking about it. We engaged over 400 students over the course of 3 years. Some of those students learned about it and then they graduated and moved on. So by the time it was ready to go to a referendum ballot, a lot of students really didn't understand it. They didn't know why. They just looked at the amount and said, oh, you want to increase my fee? I think it was $75, per student. And they said, nope, not going to pay for it. So, I'm not sure that we had enough time to really socialize it. The hard part, though, is once you put a fee out there like that and it doesn't pass, it's very difficult to come right back with the same fee again. So whether we look at a larger renovation or potentially a satellite building, right now we're not even dealing with that. We want to get this $11 million project approved and underway, and then we'll take a look at what students want for the future of the MU. And so, it might be more feasible to maybe look at another smaller satellite building or to go back to a larger renovation. But right now, we just sort of put that on hold until we can get this project done or approved and then done.
So we've come to close to our time, so we're going to take our final question right here.
My name is Rahim, and I'm a student in business. I recently read an article that the Iowa State buildings need a renovation of $500 million, I think. So will that cause an increase in tuition rates or something like that? Thank you.
430 million is our deferred maintenance. Every year we have a capital appropriation request to the legislature because they have the wherewithal to fund academic and administrative buildings. And always on there is deferred maintenance. Currently, our budget has about $5.5 million, 100% dedicated to building repair for those deferred maintenance. It's going to take a long time at $5.5 million to get $430 million taken care of. Sometimes when we build new buildings and take down old buildings, that will eliminate deferred maintenance. One of the things we're doing right now, because of the budget model, is we're teaming up with the colleges on things that they would like to have for deferred maintenance repairs, and so we're partnering, and they bring money to the table, and we bring money to the table, and we get some things done that way. But there are some significant deferred maintenance issues, and right now we're not quite sure how to solve it all. But it does not affect tuition right now, no.
Great. I know that we're close to time, but there was one last thing that I wanted to be sure to share with the group tonight, and it's related to some joint initiatives across campus on affordable course content. And this is something that came out of student government about a year or so ago as well, and it was focused on OERs, or open educational resources. And maybe you've heard this information, but I think it's fantastic information because it directly impacts a majority of our students here on campus. And so a few years ago, we did a pilot program with the bookstore on immediate access materials. And these are your materials that as soon as you enroll in the course, they're available for you in Canvas. And just some specific numbers so you'll know, in academic year 16-17, we had about 5 courses that were using these products, and it saved students on campus about $77,000. So that was money that students never had to pay because their book cost $25 instead of $150. Last academic year, it increased. We had over 26 courses that were using these materials, and it resulted in over $1.1 million in savings. So that's direct money that students did not have to pay for course materials. And the great thing is it impacted almost 16,000 students. So we've got more faculty that are interested in this and are starting to use it. We're working in a great partnership between the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, the bookstore, and the library. Looking at ways to reduce these course fees, course materials, and we anticipate that it'll be over $1.5 million. And that, like I said, that's a tangible savings to each student because those are monies that you're not actually having to pay for these different course materials. So I've got a handout here in case you're interested. It really looks at the 4 different areas that we've identified where we're looking to work on affordable course content initiatives, the open educational resources, the course reserves in the library. They're very interested in finding ways to get books on reserve to limit the expense to students, the immediate access materials, and then some other affordable solutions that the bookstore is working on. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. As student leaders, the students have been very helpful in bringing this forward, making suggestions on how we can work with our faculty as well. And the faculty are taking advantage of this and are looking at redesigning some of their courses to use some of the open educational resource materials, which will really reduce the overall cost of attendance.
Let's thank our panelists. So just a couple final thoughts. Thank you all again for coming out. Thank you for being engaged. This is our university, and we all play an important role in the way forward and really helping Iowa State continue to be a great university. And so your presence here says a lot about your commitment to Iowa State and your desire for Iowa State to continue to move into even greater future. And so thank you for being here. I want to thank those who joined us in live stream. I've been out of college for a little while. But one of the things I think is still common is that free food is a good thing. And I understand there's still some food in the back. And so we certainly invite you to engage and enjoy more refreshments. But again, thank you. Thank you to our panelists again. Thank you, Student Affairs. Thank you, Student Government. And all the best as you continue to journey through this semester. So thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.